Welcome into the Awesemo MMA Live 4 Lock Shows. We're here to get you ready for UFC Vegas number 49, which goes down here. Starts in 55 minutes from now. Of course, headlined by Islam Makhachev, taking on Bobby Green, who, by the way, a little narrative going to this one on Bobby Green. It's Bobby Green's final fight on his UFC contract. So that makes things very interesting. Of course, we are here to answer any questions that you have on the fights. Of course, leave those in chat. If you leave a super chat, your question will go to the top of the queue. Of course, as always, we are sponsored by Prize Picks. Talk about Prize Picks later on in the show. And of course, I'm joined by the fighter, Pete Rogers Jr. Pete, happy Saturday, brother. How's it going, man?
What's going on, man? I don't know. I'm enthusiastic today. I'm ready to go. I didn't have an energy drink or anything. I'm just like naturally excited to have some good quality fights. Hopefully we got some good reads for you. And I just can't wait to see how this unfolds.
Is the chair sliding again?
I don't know. It might be. Who the hell knows, Jason? All right, listen, I got to bink today in order to get a new chair. So if I bink, y'all seeing me, I'm going to get a throne. And I'm just going to be sitting on the throne over here. But forget the chair, Jason, all right? Enough of the jokes. Let's get into these fights. Let's get into these questions. I want to see what these listeners, what they're thinking and who they're feeling on today.
Something I think I do want to mention, the Pascual Nunes fight is actually at 145 pounds. All week it was listed as a 135-pound matchup, no matter where you looked at. So I don't know if something happened there or not. Someone asked me about Pascual, and this is my thing with her is, the fact of she started late in this game, first off. The second thing is how nice do you want me to be about the competition she's faced?
Yeah.
It's just this is a massive step of competition, and Nunes is a core play for me, whether we're talking GPP or cash. She's someone that I want to get to, but I think this slate is the two fights that are key are the co-main event of Misha Cirkunov and Wellington Thurman, and a fight on the prelims between Faraz Ziam and Terrance McKinney. I think that's where your slate will be made or broken today.
Yeah, I think the McKinney fight is something that's extremely crucial. I'm taking a really, really heavy stand on McKinney today. I hope he doesn't let me down. I think he's got early round one upside. Obviously, that's if you go throughout his entire career, that's what he has. Tons of early finishes. I think he has the takedowns in his back pocket to avoid danger as well on the feet. And I think I think he can win a decision if he has to. It's just a matter of if his cardio can hold up. We got to get these likes up, guys. We got 250 in here. Let's try to get to 100. We want to answer your questions. I'm excited. The Ramona Pascual fight is interesting to me just because, her strength of schedule is pretty horrible, as you mentioned. But, it's Josiah Nunes, I think, is a liability on the mat. We have seen that throughout her regional career where she can get controlled and take it down, and that takedown defense is somewhat non-existent. I wonder, and Ramona coming from a decently strong camp in Syndicate MMA, she likes to wrestle a lot in her fights, and she did, compete in some Thai boxing fights as well. If this could actually be a round 2 or round 3 type of finish for Josiah Nunes, and in fact, she isn't a part of the optimal lineup, we'll have to see. But more likely than not, I think that Josiah Nunes, despite the height difference and just the entire, stature difference, I think that she can come through for us at a decent price point as well. There are some other matchups that I can't wait to get into. And I want to hear from the listeners on who their favorite underdog of the slate is.
Something to mention, a tweet I got in a little before the show from Low Spark said, for the show, any insight tonight's fighters that may have their thoughts elsewhere tonight due to the situation in Ukraine. Looks like a few of the entrants tonight may have ties to that area, obviously with some Russian fighters, Dagestan fighters. I will tell you that right now there is some concern on the UFC's aspect of potentially needing to change the main event for the London card, which will be interesting because I don't know if you saw this. There was weather issues earlier this week where the roof of the arena came off. And yeah, crazy. Yeah, there was photos out there of it. Alexander Volkov is supposed to be the main event of that fight card. There reportedly is concern that the UFC believes they may have issues in getting him a visa, so they may have to pull another main event for that one. But obviously it's something to go on here in terms of. But like you said right before the show, there are some Russian fighters on this card.
Yeah, I mean, just hearing that about the roof reminds me of an NBA slate where I rostered Anthony Davis, and then there was a leak in the roof. So like everybody on that team just wound up with a 0 for me. To kind of circle back on the listener's question, I think it's a fantastic question of how what's going on in the world can be possibly a distraction for some fighters. And, that's the X factor that we really can't put our finger on, right? Like, yeah, some fighters' minds could be elsewhere, especially if they have family members dealing with some adversity right now outside the cage. We'll have to see. I will tell you that when you're dealing with some adversity outside the cage, sometimes the best way to handle it is by putting on a strong performance. But we'll have to see. We really can't say. That's a little objective for us to try to put our finger on. But I hope that everybody performs at their best ability today.
Yeah, there was a fighter last night on the LFA show who had dealt with some personal issues, been going on in his life over the past week or so, that being Michael Stack, of what was going on over there. You can see it there on the screen of the live view of what what happened to that roof over there. I've been to that area over in London. It's a beautiful facility they have over there. I did ask some questions over on Discord. One of them, Woody says, he goes, I know you basically never uncheck fighters, but I don't see a reason to have Ziam in my pool. I highly disagree with that. I think it's a volatile fight. To me, the thing with McKinney, the question mark is, can Ziam weather that 2-minute storm that is going to come from Terrance McKinney? And the other side is what does Terrance McKinney look like if this fight hits a second and third round? It's just because we just haven't seen it.
Yeah, so 100%. I view the fight as a volatile fight, and I think McKinney's everybody's darling, as an underdog this week. And if he loses, then you have an amazing leverage play in Ziam. And I think that situation is entirely possible just because of the unknown surrounding McKinney. Right, McKinney's an early round 1 guy, has been finished in the past in his losses. How does his cardio check out outside of early round 2? What happens if he has to strike a little bit more and he doesn't find that early finish? Can a guy of Ziam be one of the best leverage plays on the slate? And I would have to say, yeah, he's one of the best leverage plays on the slate. I'm a believer in McKinney today, though. I really think that he can be safe. I think that he can implement the correct game plan. And I think finding a submission or TKO finish is entirely possible. We've seen Ziam get rocked. And I think that, McKinney obviously hits it very, very hard. Just ask Matt Frivola. So I view that fight as like a GPP must have, pretty similar to that Gregory Rodriguez and Petrosian fight. I don't know how that one ends up going 15 minutes. If it does, it should be in Rodriguez's dominant grappling. But Petrosian hits really hard, and Rodriguez, man, he's a liability striking defensively.
By the way, just mentioned about the Alexander Volkov situation.
Yeah.
There's the main event report now in jeopardy as there's a statement here from the UK. It says the UK will not welcome the national sports teams of those countries who are complicit in Putin's unprovoked and illegal invasion of Ukraine. So if you're Tom Aspinall, you're probably sitting there right now, probably having that phone call with the UFC matchmakers going, all right, what's the backup plan here, boys?
Yeah, that sucks. Tom Aspinall is my boy. You guys know that if you've been paying attention to the stream. It's unfortunate what's going on, but all we can really focus on is today. And then when next week approaches, or we'll just have to deal with it then. And let's hope for the best. Let's hope the card doesn't fall entirely through. And today I want to see some binks. I want people to rebound off of that terrible Mark Striegel call on my behalf last week. And I think we can do so as long as you limit your exposure in some situations, create groups over on Awesemo.com using the Fantasy Cruncher tool, using our ownership, and just kind of, putting together strong lineups.
Of course, if you're not an Awesemo Plus member, we want to get a peek what's behind the paywall. It says free premium data and tools, our NBA ownership projections, NHL ownership projections, and UFC pro plays. Of course, be sure to give us a thumbs up. We always do appreciate that. Of course, you're not subscribed to Awesemo, be sure to do that, as we got you covered for everything daily fantasy sports related. Also, we got our podcast giveaway. Head over to that Awesemo MMA podcast channel. Leave us a 5-star rating and review with your Twitter handle or Awesemo handle, and you'll be entered to win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. So be sure to check out that. Another question we got over in the chat earlier today was Islam has a track record of absorbing next to no significant strikes at all, under 100 across 11 bouts, and never more than 14 $114 a fight. Does this make Bobby Green unplayable?
I don't think unplayable, just because we have seen fighters not stick to a game plan, start to get into a firefight to show off their skills if they're such a grappling heavy guy. I think that Makhachev will have a little bit more success on the feet than people are giving him credit to. I do favor Bobby Green in those exchanges, but ever since Makhachev's been knocked out, you saw him take a more defensive oriented style to really complement his strong grappling. It's let's stay tight and technical. Let's just throw enough to make them respect our striking. And then let's duck underneath and incorporate some takedowns. And, Bobby Green's cheap, like super cheap. And he has been around the block. All he needs to do is really survive multiple rounds. And you're talking about if other underdogs don't come through, a losing fighter in Bobby Green could possibly be a part of the optimal lineup.
I love to play in the multiplier contest that I found there, which is on DraftKings. It's $50 buy-in, and it's only 10 people. Top 3 win $150. It's a contest I love to play over there on DraftKings. I try to find it on other sports too, by the way. I try to, but it was hard for me in a contest like that to just not click Bobby Green. Because you look at that, his salary's so low. I mean, obviously, if he goes out there and just gets wrestled right to the ground and it's a quick submission victory, first, second round type situation for Islam Makhachev, it's not going to be a great score, but literally it allows you to get to whoever you want. And like I said earlier, to me, it was I want to get to the co-main event. I do prefer to go to the Wellington Thurman route in that one, and McKinney and Ziam. I'm just like you. I want to get McKinney in that one. But thing is, like that co-main event and maybe the McKinney fight as well. Those are boom bust type fights. Yeah, for sure. When it comes down to Bobby Green, you think of what a fighter who I think has less grappling and less wrestling than Bobby Green in Drew Dober. And he was able to survive 3 rounds against Islam Makhachev. And I just feel like, Bobby Green's pretty tough to put away. Early on in his career, he was submitted and he has been knocked out. But Islam Makhachev, I think, isn't going to completely outclass him and get him out in 1 round. I think that anything beyond round 1 is entirely possible. But you're talking about a guy who's priced at $9,500, arguably with some of the best wrestling upside and grappling upside on the entire slate. So we'll have to see. There's a situation where he's not optimal. I think if you want to get unique today, it's leave salary on the table, number 1, avoid the main event, number 2. Yeah, no doubt about that. It's definitely something to pay attention to there. One of the things I don't know if you heard Bobby Green earlier this week, he was talked about this matchup of, so when he got the call, he was 195 pounds. And his first thought was, I know I'm not the first guy they call. So how many dudes turned this fight down before they called me? Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. I wonder if he's really 195. I'm sure that he was probably 190, 185. But regardless, I get it. He has to cut weight again and within a short amount of time. If I was him, right? Like, why wouldn't you have made it just 165? It made it easier on you. So like, why 160? Maybe that's in Islam Makhachev's, that was his decision. Not wanting to go too far up. But, I'm excited to see Bobby Green back in there. He's already been acclimated. And with his, veteran experience, could he possibly spoil this for Islam Makhachev? This is one of those situations where you see it and you go back, hindsight's 2020, and you see where they're building a prospect. And you're like, wow, that completely backfired on the promotion. This is a dangerous fight. But obviously I'm still siding with Islam Makhachev. Yeah, I mean, look, I like Makhachev to win the fight, but it's, Bobby Green is more of a cash games play for me than he is a GPP play. Look, we know if Bobby's going to pull this thing off, it's going to be by knockout. It's going to be, the volume. It'll be interesting to see, does he come out in more of a different type of fight mentality? I mean, you think about Bobby Green, the way you typically see him, those hands down, and he's talking maddish. Yeah. I mean, and Islam does understand English. He does speak English. And he was asked about this week, Pete, and he goes, that's fine. He goes, when I take him down, I'll start talking to him. Yeah, exactly. I saw that. And But something I pointed out on the strategy show this week is, to me, the key for Bobby Green is to stay north of the black line, to where he's not a foot or two away from the fence, because that's where I truly do believe that Makhachev wants to take this fight. He wants to make this a clinch fight and get that takedown against the fence.
For sure. And Bobby's hands down can actually help him defend some takedowns. Your hands are right in line to catch underhooks. And I think in previous bouts, you saw Bobby Green get taken down pretty easily. Even Lando Venata, Clay Guida, Thiago Moy, like, people have taken him down. And I feel like it's because it gets caught off guard with a game plan surrounded behind, just completely shutting down the takedown. He might have early success doing that. I do think that Islam Makhachev will eventually just get him to the mat. He has such a variety of takedowns. He doesn't just shoot double legs. He'll do a high single. He will go body lock. He will go throws, uchimatas. He'll do everything to get you to the mat. And he seems to be extremely physical. And I think his physicality will be the difference maker here. It's just, will the cardio hold up? I think it does, but it's going to be some tough sledding. And if Islam Makhachev goes out there and just completely gets rid of Bobby Green in one round, then that's a huge statement right there. So, there is a path to just making yourself into a star, even against a proven veteran here. And I think that Islam Makhachev can do so.
Next up, we start getting into the questions here right now. First off, with Spencer saying, what's your guys' favorite MVP for FanDuel and favorite underdogs? In terms of FanDuel MVP, I think I'm looking at Nunez at $21, Brahima $22. I do think that if you want to get off Islam Makhachev, Brahima and Nunez would be my top two options to pivot off to in terms of a high price option. Pete, in terms of underdogs, I know a lot of people may have been looking at Rongju, but the missing weight by 4 pounds really sticks out to me of kind of a concern there. But if I was going to point out maybe another underdog that I would probably look at, probably Joel Alvarez.
Yeah. So the Rongju or Zhu Rong, it's interesting when you see a fighter miss weight like that, and he seemed embarrassed and dejected a little bit. So I wonder if it was an injury, just a poor weight cut. Obviously, something went wrong, and it makes me like Ignacio Bahamondes even more, just because I feel like he can keep this fight on the feet and keep him at bay. Rongju is an extremely talented underdog. Like, if you want to look at, let's call it under 7,600. You have to say that Rongju is one of the most talented within that range, and talent sometimes wins out. But my favorite cheap guy within that range is clearly Joel Alvarez. He's a round 1 beast. He's a round 2 finisher. Like, he is just a complete finisher, and he's 6'3" for the division. He's going up against an extreme prospect in Arman Tsarukyan, but the height difference and the reach advantage is just so significant that I think it could pose problems to Arman Tsarukyan. This could turn into a scramble fest where Arman gets takedowns. Yeah. And then you have Joel Alvarez reverse position, starts threatening with some submissions. And he has just such a diverse arsenal that one of these things can end up just, he can latch onto your neck, catch an arm, and even on the feet. I think that he has the length to even win most exchanges. So Joel Alvarez, my favorite cheap fighter under that 7,600. But as far as talent-wise, you could do worse than Rongju. I have him plenty.
CS, I appreciate you in the super chat. He says, outside of Alvarez and McKinney, I'm struggling here because I do not like anyone else under 8,500 other than the two listed. Who are your next two favorite under 8,500 for a 200-person GPP?
Okay.
Thanks for the coverage, Coach S. 85. I was going to mention somebody above 8,500 before that question came in, but I'll get to that there in a minute. But if I look at that 8,000, 8,500, I do like Rodriguez. Serkinov has got high upside. Even though I do favor Wellington Thurman in the matchup, look, Serkinov is not a bad person to go to there because, if he's winning, it's going to be a first round stoppage.
Yeah. I'm not really in, behind Serkinov just because I feel like, in the fight against Krzysztof Jotko, he didn't really look the best. Obviously, that was his first fight at this weight class. And I think there are some matchups where this drop in weight can actually work into his advantage. It's just a situation where I think Wellington Turman can somewhat nullify his game. He's strong. He has good wrestling. He has good jiu-jitsu. So like, where's Serkinov going to excel in getting him out of there? He could take him down. Yeah. But I think that he's a gas tank liability. And I don't think he's going to submit Wellington Turman. I think Turman's ground game and training with Glover Teixeira is what's going to have him prepped. I mean, if he gets submitted by Misha Serkinov, then he would have lost to Rodolfo Vieira 100%. Mm-hmm. So, and I actually think that he would have had success against Rodolfo Vieira because of his physicality. Now, it's a great question, CS, and we appreciate your ongoing support over these past couple of years. I will say one of my favorite underdogs is just in a fight that I view as a GPP fight, and that's Armen Petrosyan, complete liability in the wrestling department, horrible wrestling, but he's going up against a guy in Gregory Rodriguez who, gets rocked in almost every fight, gets dropped in numerous fights. And it does seem like there is some fatigue issues surrounding Gregory Rodriguez if he can't submit you or TKO you early on. And it's ugly. Some underdogs are ugly, right? Like outside of McKinney and Turman, I'm okay with getting to Armen Petrosyan as like my fourth favorite underdog on the slate, just because I think he has significant KO upside.
Now, one of the things we always talk about is that leverage play. And I'm always looking at that like 8,700 and above. And of course, that's where you got to get those ownership projections. And of course, you can sign up for Awesemo Weekly Pass for $29.95, give you access to those projections that we have over Awesemo.com. Of course, if you just want an Awesemo MMA Plus package, those start as low as $295 weekly. And there's two names that are sticking out to me.
Let's hear it, boy. Let's hear it, because I want to see if we're on the same page.
One I'm absolutely terrified of to throw in lineups. You got to know who that is. Jonathan Martinez.
Okay.
It's not that. Look, I think he's going to win the fight. The problem is, we always talk about this, Pete, of, okay, this fighter's going to win the fight, but their history shows they're not a high fantasy producer. And that is Jonathan Martinez. He has not been a fantasy producer in his two UFC wins. The other one that sticks out to me is Bahamondes.
Okay. You did not target the fighter that I thought you were going to target, and I can't wait. All right, so let's expand on this for the listeners. And guys, we appreciate your support. It's been incredible here at Awesemo for you guys. So let's talk about this fight. We have Jonathan Martinez against Alejandro Perez. Most people are kind of writing this fight off. Oh, it's 135ers fighting at 145 pounds, which I think is odd. And that's probably going to go the distance. Now you're talking about a leverage fight. This is a fight that a lot of people just want to scroll past. Martinez is kind of lost in the shuffle, and Alejandro Perez isn't really the best DFS producer. If you want to call it what it is, though, Jonathan Martinez is 14-4. Alejandro Perez is 22-8. 22 victories as a professional mixed martial artist is something that's pretty significant. Like, it's pretty tough to do. Yeah, he's lost 8 times, but he's been in the UFC and rattled off some big wins in some competitive moments, right? Jonathan Martinez, he lost his debut in the UFC to Andre Sukumtat. He's lost to Andre Ewell via split decision, and he's lost to Davey Grant by KO. Alejandro Perez, okay, he hasn't really had the biggest names within his career. He's lost to Cody Stamann, pretty talented wrestler. Song Yadong got sent to the next dimension with that right hand, but he has a win over Andre Sukumtat and win over Yuri Alcantara, Eddie Wineland, knockout over Scott Jorgensen. So this is a situation where I feel like Alejandro Perez is the ugliest option down here at the low end that I kind of said. I looked at our ownership on Awesemo and I said, I'm getting north of it, just because Martinez has been KO'd in the past. And it's a leverage fight in general, because targeting somebody within that bottom tier range, let's say Joel Alvarez doesn't come through for us. What are you going to do? Now half of your lineups are going to be gone. So I need to find somebody who could possibly win a decision. And Alejandro Perez is he's notorious for being in close fights.
When you look at Jonathan Martinez fantasy points in victories, 75.3, 67.9, 114.8. That was a third round finish. 59.2, 67.2. That's what's going to concern you about Jonathan Martinez. But if you're in a smaller field, Jonathan Martinez, I think, is a way to get different today. Don't feel great about it, Pete. But if you want to get different, he is a way to get different today.
I agree with you. I do agree with you because I have Martinez as like the sneaky win guy. He could perform better than what we're expecting. His striking has improved. He throws good kicks, good power. He has a win over Thomas Almeida, who at one time was considered to be like the next big thing. And that career really never materialized, which is kind of crazy to me. There's a fighter that, well, you talked about Ignacio Bahamondes, and I think it's amazing because Ignacio Bahamondes, coming from my friend's gym, Valley Flow Striking, and he has incredible striking, and he's humongous for the division, 6'3", knows how to use his reach. Outside the John McDessie fight, where the true veteran just kind of, gave him a lesson. I think that Bahamondes can pick apart Rongju, especially if he had a terrible weight cut. And I think that Rongju's takedown upside is somewhat capped against a huge, tall frame guy. So I do agree with you in that I like Ignacio Bahamondes. It's just, does he get a finish? He's gotten finishes and knocked out people who have not been knocked out prior to meeting him. And I think that he could do the same thing against Rongju here. I see the ownership, and I think it's just about right. There's a fighter that you did not mention that I find is sneaky. And I think Yeon Kim at 8,600 is really sneaky. Her volume is pretty high, Jason, right? Her volume's high. She's a punching bag at times. Priscila Cachoeira is the ultimate punching bag. And she keeps her hands low, and she has non-existent defensive wrestling. If you go back and you watch Yeon Kim throughout the regional scene, she can find takedowns. She can find submissions. And I think that her stature and just experience within syndicate MMA is going to lead her to one of the sneakiest positions here at 8,600. Obviously, Priscila Cachoeira has that, that death touch to a point where when she hits you, you have seen Shayna Dobson, even Gina Mazzani, just completely fall apart when they get hit with that right hand. So I'm a little worried, but Yeon Kim, I see where the ownership's at, and I went above it.
I will tell you, in a cash lineup, when I got to my final fighter that I was going to put in, Bahamondes, Martinez, and Kim were the three fighters I was looking at because I had plenty of salary left over of, looking at. I mean, look, I think stylistically, it's a great matchup for both ladies. It is, you're not facing someone that you're expecting is going to be shooting for takedowns. Now, if you want to be on the Cachoeira side of this equation, what scares you is the reach disadvantage. She's going to have to cut that distance. And how does she cut that distance? Both these ladies have a ton of volume. And so this is one of those fights that I do think you have to look at. But that was just kind of my mindset in cash.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I would say that Cachoeira closes distance decently well. It's just with your hands down against a taller, longer opponent, closing distance by just keeping your hands down and marching forward, you're going to eat shots and you're going to get dropped at times. You need head movement side to side. You need lateral movement. And I just don't really think she possesses any of that.
Yeah, it's there's some interesting matchups here to target this week. Of course, this is the also MMA Live for Lock show. We're getting you ready for UFC Vegas number 49. Of course, we are sponsored by Prize Picks. Of course, you got to use that promo code Awesemo when you sign up there over at Prize Picks. They got instant first match deposit of up to $100. And when you sign up, deposit and play over at Prize Picks, you get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. You see the URL there right at the top of the screen. And Pete, as I was looking at some of the Prize Picks plays over there, we talked about on Thursday about Islam Makhachev. His fight time on Thursday was 11.5. And when I looked at it earlier today, it's already at 12.5.
That's saying third round, right? It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's saying, I think it's an underplay.
I'm saying over. I don't like it though. I don't like that line. I think that there's something else that we could target.
And as Tyler just points out to me, it's now back down to 11.5. So kind of tells you a little bit of where they're going there. The circuit off, I do like the under on the fight time. That is one that I do feel pretty good about taking the under 10 minutes on that fight. The Ziam is at 10 as well. I like the under in that one too.
I like the under on that Ramiz Brahima fight. Like I think that in round one he could easily get that done.
Yeah. The takedowns, Makhachev is at 3. I think you just got. I think you got to play the under.
Really? Okay. How do you? So hold on. You think it's gonna go? You think it's gonna go?
I don't think Green
minutes?
I don't think Green gets up once he's taken down
in a
round. He might survive. I think for that to go over, it's bare minimum. It's got to reach the 3rd round. Bare minimum.
Okay. I think we're gonna see takedown, stand up, and you'll get 2 easy takedowns like that. And then if it goes another round, boom, we just need one more.
And I do like the under on takedowns for Serkinov at 2.
Yeah, I don't like that fight for Serkinov. Serkinov, we have our buddy in chat saying Serkinov looked great at the weigh-ins. He did. I mean, he looks good. He's got a strange body though. Like he looks a little odd for this weight class. And Wellington Turman, I think he's stronger than what he appears.
Get some questions in here. GoPoke says Makhachev or Brahima. I feel more confident going Makhachev, but because of ownership, I would go to Brahima.
Everybody was hating on Brahima when he just lost to Court McGee. And, if he's a little bit more patient, then a 2nd round finish is something that we don't really want. I think that he's more than capable of doing it though. So I'm still going to say Makhachev, but Brahima, it's like 1A, 1B for me.
Best value on a FanDuel single entry. I'm looking at Wellington Turman at $15.
I really like Kim too. Yeah.
Sean says Alvarez on DK for sure. Perez on FanDuel, meaning by the underdogs he likes, and saying $8 seems like a steal.
It's a guy notorious for going the distance in close fights, low volume. I would like him more if he tried takedowns, because I feel like that's a sneaky way to mix things up against Jonathan Martinez, especially when you're training at AKA. You have an outstanding, wrestling program over there. So I think that should be a little ace up his sleeve. And I like him a little bit. It's just that fight in general is something most people aren't going to target.
Petrosian or Rongju?
Yeah, Petrosian.
The thing that scares me about the Rongju situation is just, why did he weigh 160?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a situation where a coach got to a point and says, you're not losing, you're not sweating anymore, we're not going to get any lower, I'm just not going to let you deplete your body more? Or was there an injury? Or flat out, was it just a miscommunication on in terms of timing your weight cut correctly?
So many things can go wrong in a weight cut, and a lot of people struggle with, taking the weight off, but also putting the weight back on. And the hydration process is something that a lot of people don't really talk about. And it's an art, man. You have to master it. And if you have not wrestled throughout your young life, then you're kind of learning on the job. And a lot of wrestlers really have it down to a science.
Damon Jackson spoke to me about that earlier this week for an interview that'll drop next week for his upcoming fight, where he talked about his last fight. He just felt like he just did not rehydrate the best.
Yeah.
So one of the things for people to know, so when you see a fighter weigh in the UFC, when they do those early weigh-ins, they walk off to the side and there's a table sitting there, and basically every fighter has a bag that the PI gives them. And it just has all the basically how to rehydrate yourself, essentially. And Damon Jackson said, he's like, yeah, I didn't necessarily follow that plan the best as I should have. And that's, but those are things that we just never know of what a fighter's going to look like. I talked about Thursday on the strategy show. Jonathan Pierce told me that, he had a bad and wasn't feeling good, even on fight day.
Yeah, man.
Matt saying McKinney and Thurman are the dogs he likes. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's one of those things, Pete, where I feel like I like these guys too much, and that scares me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, I'm overweight on McKinney, and that does scare me for a guy that hasn't really been tested outside of round 2. But what do we look for in, for DraftKings? It's early finishers. It's, and I think this is a situation where Ziam's a talented striker, but this is a winnable fight for McKinney. I actually thought that he was going to be the favorite here. And the McKinney and Turman are kind of like my 1-2 punch. for a lot of my lineups. And I think it's going to be everybody's, basic construction. So recognize that and learn how to get different. Maybe only having one of them and combining it with somebody else within that range is the way to do it.
Rodriguez or Martinez for a single entry GPP on DraftKings. I'd rather go Rodriguez because of the ceiling.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that there's more upside with Rodriguez, given the grappling nature and how horrible Armin Petrosyan's take down the fences. But it's a volatile matchup. With Martinez, I think if it goes the distance, you're probably getting 80 points.
Yeah, no question about it. A lot of questions about Kim and Cachoeira. I think we've kind of really, the thing about that one with Cachoeira to me is just about her being able to close the distance, and also the fact of with Kim having that reach advantage and how hittable Cachoeira is. That to me is the concern with her.
She is just not good. She's just not good, and I think that she really has one way to win, and it's land that big power shot. And outside of that, she's just not UFC level. There's a fight that we haven't really touched on, and I have it in some of my lineups because the price point is something I always find attractive. The 8,200, 8,000 fight, Jason, and it's one I think that the market in general, we're having a tough time deciphering how to get this in our lineups or which way to go about it. And I am leaning in Carlos Hernandez's direction at 8,200, but this is a fight where there could be scrambles galore. And I think it could be pretty similar to both of their Dana White Contender Series fights, where it's a close nail biter type of fight, back and forth affair. Hernandez and Altamirano, man, I wanted to get to more of it, but I don't know. I can see this going the distance and not being a part of the optimal. But if I had to favor one of them, it's Hernandez for me.
More confidence in Petrosyan or Alvarez? It would be Alvarez for me.
Ugh. I don't know if there's confidence in rostering a guy who's so terrible in Petrosyan when it comes to the takedown department. Skill wise, I have much more confidence in Alvarez.
In terms of top cash picks for this one, I'm looking at the high end range here. Obviously Makhachev, but I mean it's a huge price that you got to pay. But to me, Nunez it would be my number 2, and Kim might be my number 3.
Yeah, I like him a lot. There's only a few fighters we really haven't touched on. It's Ramona Pascual. She needs to go to the takedown department and just not get knocked out early. And then Michael Gilmore needs to keep the fight on the feet at all costs. Needs to keep the fight on the feet and try to land a lucky shot against Ramirez. But I think it's going to be very difficult to do, especially when in all of his defeats, he's been submitted. And once he's on the mat, he looks like a fish out of water. So Gilmore is a guy that I don't even think I have any exposure to, but if you really want to get different, he's practically going unowned.
Yeah. Someone asked about prop bets. Brahima via submission -125. Martinez via decision +125. I think it is one to potentially look at there for as well. Rongju or Petrosyan.
It's Petrosyan for me.
Yeah, it would be 2 for me just because of the missing weight. Because of not really knowing what happened, that's the concern for me.
Yeah, I would agree.
Let's see here. Thoughts on Serkinov as the MVP on FanDuel? I don't mind getting to that. I mean, look, the reality is he's a finisher. I mean, and a first round finisher.
I think if he had a better matchup, we would be talking about Serkinov as a nice value play. And he could just completely prove us all wrong, because at 8,300, he's priced completely. He's too cheap for what he can bring to the table in a win, right? Like, he's a round 1 guy. I think that Wellington Turner can negate a lot of it. So I'm not getting too much Serkinov today. And there are some people that believe in him. It's just, I don't know. I thought this guy wasn't going to be on the roster for too much longer.
Yeah. Andrew says, I can't come to terms with Nunez Pascual fight. If Pascual survives round 1, shouldn't she win? Look, I'm high on Nunez in this one, and a lot of it comes to the fact of the talent that Pascual has fought. I can't say this enough. All caps, massive step up in competition. massive step up in competition.
I watched that last girl after our strategy show, and I watched Ramona Pascual against
Shamir I was being nice.
Shamir Priscila at 2-0. I was completely surprised that there were two people less talented than her in that fight. You know, like I was like, man, this girl looks like an amateur, and she just looked uncomfortable. And you know, nothing against her, but it's just like it made Ramona Pascual look like a monster, and I don't really think that's it.
That's the problem with the regional scene is, look, you don't want to take UFC level fights on the regional scene because you're fighting for regional pay, but you also got to test yourself.
It's like a little bit of both. Exactly.
Yeah. And that to me is just, it's a major concern I have. I mean, there are people on the regional scene in MMA that are trying to take a boxing approach to get to the UFC, to where literally I've had conversations with regional matchmakers about certain fighters, and they'll flat out tell me, they'll go, that guy won't fight anybody that's legit.
That happens a lot, man. And, you know, you are having a lot of managers that are trying to do that, and they're trying to get their guys to 5-6-0, and then get them on Dana White's Contender Series, or get them, you know, in a fight where they could possibly start to make some more money. But I don't know. You have to be tested at one point, and we have seen Ramona Pascual get finished in the past, and I think if Josiah Nunes really, really hits her, I think she's going to crumble. So I'm favoring Josiah Nunes despite the grappling liability.
By the way, the PFL Challenger Series, Pete.
I saw, bro. I looked at it. And it was like 4 fights.
Hey, bro, 5,000 to show, 5,000 to win.
All right, let's.
It's Contender Series pay.
No, let's go, Mr. Jason. Let's go make some calls for Pete the Heat for PFL.
Yeah. And then if you're in that contract, then you're in a tournament to fight for $1 million.
Hey, I've always loved PFL. PFL is such a great company. So, yeah. I know.
Yeah, no one can watch it right now because you have to be a Fubo TV subscriber to be able to watch that Challenger Series. Which
is that why I haven't seen those cards? Okay, well,
it was free last week, and then they put it behind the paywall this week, which I understand why Fubo does that, but I don't think it's a great move for PFL. Brahim Islam, we already he was saying last spot in. I mean, look, to me, it's about ownership move at all. But if you say, who do I have the more confidence in? Yeah, it is Islam, but Islam also has a tougher opponent.
Yeah, exactly. So you have a guy, Ramiz, who could completely outclass his opponent, and you have Makhachev, who could outskill his opponent. And Bobby Green is extremely tested. But if you want like an easy dub, then you would probably just play Ramiz.
Dave says my sneaky GPP play was Rongju, and Pete just talked me out of it. Single entries Alvarez, still the pick.
Well, I still have Rongju in my line, like in some lineups. Like you have to realize, like when I'm answering questions, it's like all dependent on how many lineups you have. I'm playing like 150, 200 lineups today or whatever I'm playing, and I have some Rongju, but I don't think that he's in my top 3 favorite underdogs on the slate.
Of course, one of the things that Pete and I love to see after the fights are over are those winning screenshots. We want to see you get into the Awesemo Hall of Fame. Of course, what you got to be doing is rocking that Awesemo avatar on your DFS profile. Of course, when you finish in the top 3 of the contest with over 5,000 contestants, tweet your wins to @Awesemo HOF. You win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Only 1 free month can be awarded to a user per calendar year. Congratulations over there. My man Eric taking down over there over at Prize Picks, taking the $250 power play, turn that into $2,500. Congratulations to him. Also, Aton going in there with some gambling on his James Harden day, as he says, was fun. You can see what all those props that he did hit over there. Also, Shit My Money going in there, taking down first place, winning $50,000 there.
Such a monster.
I know.
Adam is such a monster. It's ridiculous. He is so good at DFS.
Congratulations to Snot Knocker 22 taking out first place in a FanDuel contest. That's a tremendous
hell of a
DFS
name,
handle.
huh? Goodness
Also, Mookie taking out first and second place in 2 different AHL contests. Congratulations to him. Of course, always love to see those winning screenshots once the fights are over. Next up, Steve says, Pete, are you fading Kim versus Cachoeira?
No, I'm not. I took a larger stand in the field on Kim. I hope that she laces up her wrestling shoes today, because I think that's the easiest path to victory. Outbox her from the outside, mix in some takedowns, get a submission finish. I just don't think Cachoeira is good outside of landing a big right hand.
Josh goes, yo, been rolling with you boys for the last few weeks. I've been cashing everything. Thank you for the fire picks. Last piece of a GPP best upside, Brahima or Bahamondes?
Ooh, I love it. I'm going to say Brahima just because a grappler with early round 1 finish. But I will tell you that I faded in some of my lineups. I faded the main event and I left salary on the table, and I got to both Brahima and Bahamondes as pivots off of Makhachev, because I just think that there is some tremendous upside with both of them.
Someone asked about going with a stack in Bahamondes and Zoo. I'm not stacking it all today.
I just don't see why you would have to have a lot of underdogs just completely not come through.
Yeah. Let's see here. 8K plus, who are your favorites on DraftKings? I think I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but over 8,000. I'm looking at Nunez, Bahamondes, Rodriguez, Kim, and Makhachev.
Yeah, I will definitely agree with all of those.
AJ asked talk about the first fight of the night, saying Hernandez to take him down, hold him down. This is one of those things of, I do believe whoever is able to score takedowns will ultimately get a win. I do think this has a chance of going 15 minutes, and I do going to be some scrambles, but look, it's both the first UFC fight for both of these fighters. I did get to Almirano a little bit though.
Yeah, I mean, that fight's just tough for me to really put my finger on what the hell is going to happen. Jason, is there somebody that you think is just being completely disrespected with the ownership? Is there somebody that's kind of like flying under the radar without giving out too much? Is there somebody that you think is, I wouldn't mind getting to a little bit more of them?
Oh, let me sort this here on who is
because I want to see if you're going to catch exactly what I'm catching.
Kim.
I mean, she's, for that price range, she's not nearly as enough as everybody else around her. So that seems to me like the play within the mid range.
And look, I also say this: I want to get underneath the field on Makhachev.
I mean, I think level is okay. Underneath is fine. We just need those other 9,000 options to come through. It just makes roster construction difficult, right? Like that's the main reason he's 9,500. So automatically you're going to have a lot of pairings of Makhachev with Joel Alvarez. And if Alvarez doesn't come through, well, there goes a large amount of the field.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about a 9-1 betting favorite.
Yeah. Yep.
And on the betting side, if you want to play Makhachev, I think you guys are looking at the props.
I don't know how the hell I would play that. I really don't. When it comes to props, I might just do like an over on the rounds just to be safe. I think like a Makhachev trying to pinpoint a prop bet with him might be a little difficult of how this could go.
Yeah, I mean, even if you think Bobby Green can survive 25 minutes, it's only plus 275.
It's weird though, because I feel like there's a finish before 25 minutes. I just don't know how.
I would look at the submission prop, but that's only minus 120.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, the books are kind of onto it, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Is everyone on Islam like ownership? I mean, look, and Pete, you just brought up a great point. Is if you're getting to Islam, it becomes a roster construction problem, because then it's like, okay, who's 7,400 and under are you getting to on DK?
Yeah. I mean, And that's probably why we're not seeing him come with, even more ownership, because I thought it would be a little bit more. I thought he'd be right about 3/4. He's very close, but I don't know. I just think it's like how many combinations and how much faith you have with that low end. It's just naturally a lot of people are going to want to pivot off it and hope that there's a low scoring affair.
And I'll be honest with you, I was thinking Bobby Green would be a little more popular than what he is. I mean, look, I think this, like, take DFS out of this. I think there's going to be a lot of people in front of their television tonight that are going to be rooting for Bobby Green.
Yeah, and I just thought, like, the ownership that I'm looking at for Bobby Green, I was like, I thought it'd be double, truthfully, just given the price, given the 5-round nature, and just and how people want to root for somebody in the main event, and prioritize the main event. Co-main event underdogs is always like our go-to rule. So Bobby Green's just stupid cheap at 6,700. You could do a lot of things with him in your lineups.
Mentioned saying about thinking that Rongju missed weight intentionally. Here's the problem when you start doing that is you're going to get fined. And I believe he lost 40% of his purse.
40%. Yep.
Okay. And then here's also what's going to happen. You do that with the wrong commission. That commission is going to say, you're no longer fighting at lightweight. You're now a welterweight.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. If that happens in Connecticut, that's exactly what would happen.
Don't go to California.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're just not weighing you the weigh-in day. They're weighing you the fight. And if you are above 15%, you may get that letter that says you got to go to a doctor and prove that you can safely make that weight. If not, you got to move up a weight class.
Craziness.
Think about this. For Ziam, if he missed weight yesterday, he'd miss weight 2 times in a row.
Crazy. We got a super chat from Sam saying top leverage plays. I'll say less on my over under. Okay, cool, Sam. I would say less on your over under as well. Top leverage plays. Ziam, probably the number one, because Terrance McKinney is everybody's darling this week. Is there somebody else that you would have to say is a leverage play for the slate?
Serkinov.
Yeah, there you go.
But that's more based on my thoughts too.
No, you're right though. You are correct. I think Serkinov and Ziam, those are the leverage plays of the slate.
Sam, I appreciate that. Super chat, Pete. Appreciate you seeing that, because I did not see it come in there. Try to get some other questions here before we get out of here for this edition. Brahimas or Nunez in a DraftKings GPP? It's
Brahima for me, just because there are some questions around Nunez, despite me thinking she goes out there and wins still.
Yeah, I'm with you. In terms of that, I think for my lines, I just feel like I have so much Wellington Thurman.
I know.
And the other one would be Josiana Nunez. I have so much.
I need Terrance McKinney to come through today, and that's just for majority of my lineups. Might even be all of my lineups. It's pretty damn close.
Red Dog, yes, I will be on NASCAR Live before lock tomorrow.
Awesome.
It'll be me and Chris to get you ready for that race here. Of course, coming up here in about 30 minutes from now, or at least 30 minutes from now, we got NBA Deeper Dive. Of course, get you ready for tonight's NBA slate. Of course, we're about to approach lock here for today's UFC slate. So good luck to everyone. Hopefully, if you don't have your CSVs in at this point, yeah, you might be struggling a little bit to get those lineups in. So hopefully you already got that one in here. Of course, we'll be back on Thursday for the strategy show for UFC 272. And I hear the guys in the main event don't like each other.
Yeah, I can't wait.
That's the word on the street.
I got to watch that interview. I just saw it. So, guys, thanks for the overwhelming support today.
Yeah, gonna air on Tuesday. And I would just say this. I would love if Mike Brown has to get interviewed next week. Based on some of the things Jorge is saying.
I love Mike Brown. Absolutely. And guys, appreciate you so much. Let us know how you do tonight. Rock with us on Twitter at PTHeatMMA, at Jason_Floyd. Good luck today, guys. We love you.
Of course, be sure to check out our sponsor, Prize Picks. Of course, be sure to use that promo code Awesemo. They got instant first match deposit of up to $100. We use that code. Lets them know that you came from the Awesemo MMA guys. So we will talk to you on Thursday. Have a good day, everybody.